Dr. Andy Johnson, I am author of the book Academic Writing, Process and Product. Today we are looking at the annotative bibliography. Annotated bibliographies, what are they and how do you do it? The steps. It is a list of sources that you have reviewed, followed by a short description or annotation of others, annotation of each one. This review could include the research articles you've read, the theoretical articles you've read, or the books that you read, or other reports. Why do we do it? Well, it provides a service for others, so others can see what examples there are, what sources there are on a particular topic, and they can quickly and easily see the research or the articles, and they can get them if they want. It's helpful in preparing larger research papers and projects because it organizes it. It allows you to see what you have and gives you ideas for the methodology. It provides organized information about things. If you need to be an expert on a policy or a practice, it allows you to organize your information in a particular place. You can easily see the author, the journal, the date, and the salient elements of each article that you read. Annotated bibliographies are often used for grants or proposals for theses or dissertations or other sorts of things. It provides a general view of the literature that you've seen. And it provides an overview of the research in a particular topic. If you read a lot, you sometimes forget the salient details, and it organizes this in one place. So let us look at the steps, and I will show you some examples here. But step one, of course, is to read and take notes. You start with just one of your sources, and I'll show you how to do this. But you cannot skip step one, meaning that you have to read critically and take notes. Some people try to take shortcuts here by just highlighting and writing from their highlighted articles or books. A shortcut here always ends up to be a long cut. Read and take notes is imperative. Then you have to review your sources or your notes and identify the salient points. What are just the salient points I'm going to include, the important points. Now, research studies are pretty straightforward. You annotate or describe the following. First, the question or the purpose of the study. This is usually one sentence to describe the research question or the study purpose. The subjects or participants you want to use as few sentences possible, usually 1 to 3, to describe the participants or the people, the subjects in the study. You want to include the number, any relevant demographic information about your participants, and any other characteristics that are germane to the study, such as age or SES or educational levels, gender, etc. The treatment or criteria or the conditions for quantitative studies, you would describe the independent variable. This would be the approach or the treatment or the element that the researcher was trying to manipulate or isolate. For descriptive research, describe the criteria used to select the various data for analysis. And for qualitative research, you want to describe the general setting, the environment, or the conditions in which the data were observed or collected. The measurements or the instruments describe what data were collected. This would be the dependent variable, how they were collected, and what was used to collect them. And then in your annotated bibliography, you're describing the results or the findings. In a quantitative study, describe the results. Results are described in a quantitative study. Findings are described in a qualitative study. And also describe in very general terms what the results or findings might be. And of course, then the limitations. There's no such thing as a perfect study. If there are significant limitations to the study, these should be described. Now, a theoretical article, a research-based theory, this is not as straightforward. Here you need to identify and synthesize what you believe to be the essential or relevant ideas. This is different from note-taking, where you simply record all the ideas of interest. But here you are looking for the important ideas. Now, there's no uniformity in this process or what the end product should look like. We all describe things a little bit different, and each person's understanding and interpretation of a theoretical article will be a bit different. But you want to accurately capture and describe the essence of that article. And this is based on your notes. You don't want to kitchen sink it. You want this to be as concise and objective as possible to give you a sense of that article. And remember, your audience has not read this article, so you want to give that sense of what the article is about. And then you begin writing a concise overview, an accurate depiction of the relevant ideas. It has to be cohesive, and it has to actually depict the relevant ideas. And this is generally 1 to 3 paragraphs in length, generally. And I'll show you an example. And keep in mind your audience. You're writing to an audience that has not read the article. Sometimes you may have to add some additional information to elucidate or connect the ideas. Sometimes you have to move the ideas around. They may not appear in the order in which they appeared in the article that you read. And remove any ideas that do not add clarity to the annotation, all right? What you do not include is just as important as what you do include. And again, you're writing to an audience who has not read the article. You want to provide a coherent sense of that article in 1 to 3 paragraphs. Here's an example of a research article. Smith examined the effects of dialogue journals on students' understanding. For this study, 40 subjects, all right, that is the subjects, were chosen from a pool of 150, all right, randomly assigned to either treatment or control group. The treatment group used dialogue journals with daily journal prompts. The control group used the same instruction. Okay, you get a sense of this research study. You see the elements there described, the elements. And for a theoretical article, this is one by Parker Palmer, trying to capture the essence of it. You see I had to include a little bit more information, and some of annotations are 1 paragraph. This one was a little bit long, and I had to use 3 paragraphs to describe, to capture the essence of this article in my annotated bibliography. And then step number 5 of the annotated bibliography. You have to reread and revise each annotation several times. Remember, these descriptions must be extremely concise and tightly written. So reread them several times. What I do on my computer is I have a function where it reads it aloud, and that really gives me a sense, helps me develop my writer's ear. But you have to revise it. It has to be tightly explained, because you're going to have several of them, and the reader has to be able to view them and see them. Then move to the next article and repeat the process. You're doing this with each one of the sources you have reviewed. Step 5 then is to organize your individual annotations into related sections or groups. And this allows you to see the structure of things. Now, some sources would have you list in your annotated bibliography your sources alphabetically. If you have just a few, you may want to do that. If you have a whole bunch of them, you want to organize them by groups so you can see the structure of things. Now, I'm going to show you an example of an annotated bibliography used as part of a research proposal. Okay, the annotated bibliography, you notice it naturally emerges from the topic. And in this one, the research questions and methodology were informed and shaped by the studies reviewed in the annotated bibliography. And you can see the structure of this, and this is a made-up one. You can just, to give you a sense, this is the topic. Action research, low ability students were able to use their math dialogue journals. Okay. Here's the annotated bibliography, and here's the first study. And here is the second study I reviewed. It has all the salient elements. You see post-treatment and whatnot. And then a summary of the studies. And these are just two of them. Generally for an article, 10 to 15 studies. A thesis, you're talking 25 to 50 studies. You want to make sure, and how many, and that's the question, how many research articles or articles should I review? Enough to give you a broad view of the topic. Just a few studies and a few articles, you'll have a little peephole to look at. But the more studies, the bigger that peephole becomes to give you a better sense of that topic or that research question. But after you have described your articles here in the annotated bibliography, then you want to get a summary of the studies or a summary of the articles. An application then, followed by the research question, and then the methodology came from this. And this is a research proposal. Here you're describing the study that you will conduct. You're describing your participants, materials, data, procedures, and how you'll organize and analyze the data. All right, the super secret academic writing process, of course, research to gather data. If you follow these steps, academic writing is easy. You read, you take careful notes. Pre-draft, here's you organize, you put things, you create outlines, you talk to others, you're looking for structure. First draft is you get those ideas, that blob of clay on the potter's wheel. Just get the ideas on the paper first. That's the first draft. Don't think about quality. And then revise. That's the heart of the writing process. It's like the potter taking that blob of clay and beginning to shape and take things off. You reshape and revise and get feedback many times. That is at the heart of the academic writing process. Then you edit. Then you look for mechanical errors, punctuation, and grammar, and then you share. These are the steps. It's recursive. Sometimes you have to repeat these steps or do them in different orders.